Hello, my name is Rochelle Lopez. I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm going to tell you a story that I want you to make use of. I am 55 years old. I was diagnosed 9 months after the birth of my newborn baby. Myself and this baby was both diagnosed HIV positive. At the time, I was an undocumented immigrant. I had just flew my domestic violence abuser, and I found a local agency that offered me testing. Myself and that baby was diagnosed positive. My life changed. What does U equals U means to me? As an immigrant, I'm no longer an undocumented immigrant. As a woman of color, it's been 32 years. U equals U, which stands for undetectable, means untransmittable. And what that means is that those of us living with HIV, once we have established an undetectable viral load, we no longer can transmit the HIV virus to our sexual partners. I'm in a relationship, and sex is a big factor. I'm in a discordant relationship. My partner is negative, and I am positive. And it meant something to her. I am in a same-sex relationship. So when she took this information that her partner's viral load started going up, her doctor looked at her, and the doctor said, "You don't have anything to worry about. Lesbians do not transmit." She came home very disappointed, hurt, because she needed information. She wanted information about PrEP. PrEP, we do know it works if it's taken as directed. She has every right. As a negative person trying to prevent HIV, she has every right to learn that information. And her doctor did not provide her with it. We had a discussion. I picked up the phone and I called her doctor. And we had a conversation on why it was important for her doctor to give her the information about PrEP. When I was finished speaking with her provider, she thanked me. My job was done. It's not just about the sexual aspect. I have a mental health diagnosis, and I'm also living with diabetes. So when my viral load started blipping, I had to do something. My provider, he did not believe me when I said to him, I have not missed taking any of my medicine. My counteract? Run the resistance test. And he did. And that resistance test came back. I had no resistance to the medication that I was on. I then had to look at what's the role that I'm playing here. I'm drinking an herbal tea. Because my diabetes, I was struggling with having my diabetes under control. And I remember a gerontologist telling me, if you do not have your viral load under control, it's because it correlates with your diabetes, Michelle. So I can't just look at the sexual aspect. I'm menopausing. I have lost my libido. So sex is not the factor here. The issue related is there other factors going on in my life that I know is meaningful, that can cause a transmission, or there's a concern? Absolutely. And we had that discussion. So my sharing and my having this discussion with my provider is helping my provider understand, and even her provider, when we use the term, meet me where I'm at, what matters to me? What matters to me? my health, the continuum of my care, and yes, my relationship. You, as my provider, can partner with me and understand what you have learned. We have the data that talks about me being undetectable and how effective that can be. But what has not happened from my provider is tying into an undetectable viral load and how it correlates with my complete livelihood. Never feel intimidated by sharing with your providers the things you feel, what you're experiencing, and what matters to you. And it is about how you, as the clinician that have the clinical information, and here I am as your patient with these lived experiences, and how these lived experiences, what it means to me, and what you and me can do together to impact the best of care, the continuum of my care, and for me being able to know I can live and I can have the best of life, diagnosed with HIV. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dawn, and I am 50 years old. I am a mother of 3, a grandmother of 4, and I have been living with HIV since 2007. For me, the diagnosis was a life changer. I was a person who had no knowledge of HIV. I thought that the only people who would be possibly contracting it would be people who were gay or IV drug users. The first couple of years were rough. I didn't, again, know much, but I did take my medication like the doctors told me. But thankfully, a couple years into the diagnosis, I got information to teach me about taking my care into my own hands. There was a training that I went to, and it opened my mind up to knowing that I had a voice in my HIV care, and I also had a voice in my community to help, to make sure that people were getting the care that they needed. So in the process of my journey of learning about HIV, I got comfortable enough to decide I wanted to date again. And in that process, one of my biggest fears was that I would transmit this virus to somebody. That was like my worst nightmare. So when I had this discussion with my doctor, the doctor told me about U equals U. Undetectable, untransmittable, meaning that as long as I took my medication every day, and I had a viral load that was under 20 copies, I couldn't sexually transmit this virus. And for me, learning about U equals U was like a huge weight off of my shoulders. And also for the partner that I had at the time, being able to bring him into the provider's office and have them explain to him that sexually, if we made the decision to not use protection, I could not transmit this virus to him. And so for me, that was a huge weight off my shoulders. I then felt comfortable enough to date and do the things that people do when they're dating. And also in that, it made it so much easier for me to tell other people, if you take your medication every day, you can't transmit this virus. You can live your life like you lived before. You can have children who are negative. You can have a healthy sexual life as long as you take your medication and you become undetectable. I am a patient adherence specialist, and I work in a clinic for patients who are HIV positive. And some of the things that I do in the clinic is the patients that I deal with have been lost to care. Maybe they've stopped taking their ARV medication. Maybe they're not showing up for their appointments. Whatever the barriers are that they're having, I am tasked with bringing them back into care. I am tasked to figure out what it is that the patient is going through that they're not taking their medication. So I link them whatever other services that they may need, whether that is mental health, whether that's substance abuse, housing, whatever it is. We work together to figure out what it is so that they can get then in a place where they're ready to take their medication. And then when they start taking their medication, I can explain to them that, listen, taking this medication means so many good things for you. One, it means that you become undetectable. You cannot transmit this virus sexually. And then your health just becomes better because now HIV is one of the least things you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about transmitting it. You have a healthy sexual life. And then your health, all in all, just becomes better because you are now undetectable. And in the process of me doing this work, I do work with providers and helping them have patients understand what U equal U means. When I talk to providers, I also try to remind them that, every patient contracts the HIV a different way. So in the conversation that you're having with the patients, always keep in the back of your mind that you don't want to re-traumatize this patient, right? You want to watch your wording. And also when you're explaining what U equal U is to a patient, maybe you have the peer do the explaining. Because again, there's a trust factor, there's a comfortability. So when I first was told about what U equal U meant, if it would have came from a peer, I probably would have believed it more and faster than I did from believing it with the doctor that I had. So I always recommend that you allow the peer to explain what U equal U means to a patient. And again, if you as a provider feel like they left something out in the explanation, you can always fill in those holes.
Hi, my name is Liza. I am a 55-year-old Latina woman. I have 5 children. I have 9 grandchildren, and I have a great-grandson. I'm a person that in the past used IV drugs. It has been 24 years since then, and because of my IV drug use, I am a person living with HIV, and I've been living with HIV for 28 years. I come from parents, both my father and my mother were also IV drug users. My father passed away in 1984. He had AIDS when he passed away, and my mother in 2000 passed away. She was HIV positive. My mother had many complications with her medications back in 2000 and made a conscious decision to not take her medications anymore, which in turn took her life. But here I sit 28 years later, living and thriving just like anybody else. I was in a long-term relationship for 19 years. I made my partner aware of my HIV status, and we used condoms for 19 years. A few years ago, I learned about U equals U, and I'm not in that relationship anymore, but I am in a newer relationship where U equals U has definitely come to play a part. I've been in this relationship for 7 months, and my partner literally, not only did he do the research, but he also wanted to have a conversation, and he asked me questions about what does U equals U mean? What does that mean for us sexually as a couple? And what that means for him. And first of all, that was amazing. That has never happened to me where someone that was interested in me wanted to have a conversation. U equals U gave me the opportunity to let my partner know that undetectable equals untransmittable. And that means that as long as I am virally suppressed, I take my medications, I stay healthy, I cannot sexually transmit the disease to him. First of all, to be able to do that has been so liberating for me. It's taken me to a different point of freedom in my life. It has given me some more acceptance with being someone living with HIV. And having that open dialogue with my partner has been very important, not just for me, but for us as a couple. So I have been fortunate enough as a person living with HIV to take my own personal life experiences and use them to help others. I do advocacy work. I speak to different communities where I'm able to bring my story and bring light to what it's like living with HIV. Part of that story is U equals U. I am U equals U. As long as I stay virally suppressed and I take my medications, I cannot sexually transmit this disease to someone else. And for me, that's very important that I get that message across. There are many people out here that are suffering in silence, that think that their life is over, that think that nobody's ever going to want them because they are living with HIV, and that's not the case. So I feel very fortunate to have this ability and the different platforms to come out and share my story. I'm just like anybody else. I have a job, I have children, I have grandchildren, I have great-grandchild, I have a dog, I'm not an actress. This is me, someone coming from real life and just sharing my experience of where I'm at, where I've been, and trying to help others along the way to understand that U equals U is me. I am U equals U.
My name is Yvette. I've been HIV positive since 96. I used to use substances. I've been in recovery since 2015. Work in the field as a peer outreach worker, and I bring the services to the community. When I first went to the doctor, right? I knew him, I trusted him, but I didn't trust him enough, right? Because you have to build that relationship with your patients, right? Especially if I come from the streets, I'm all tear down, right? I got this wall up, right? And you talking to me about HIV, my understanding when they gave me my tests is I'm gonna die, right? So how are we gonna talk to the person, right? And understand what they need and what they want, right? With the HIV. So the doctor have to be understanding, right? Not judging, and try to listen to the patient, right? In order to get the patient the help, you have to understand where they're standing and where they're at. Especially right now with all this happening in our world, right? The substance use, the COVID, right? People don't want to take medicine. People don't want to take shots. I take it because it's healthy for me, and I have to stay undetectable in order to live. Is very important. So when I first found out of my HIV, right, they became taking this medicine, and then suddenly the UU came out. And I told the doctor, the hell is UU, right? And he explained to me, but I still didn't understand what UU was, right? So she showed me, right, and taught me the basics of UU. You cannot get it, and untransmittable, Yvette. And I'm like, okay, well, no, because your viral loads and your CDs, CD4s, right, look good and right here. So she showed me and guide me and teaches me about my body, right? Which is important, because if you tell me I'm UU untransmittable, what the hell is that? Right? So she taught me what that means and how it affects me in order to keep living and staying healthy and doing the right thing. You have to take your medicine to stay undetectable, untransmittable. That's what UU means to me. I go to the community, right, and I see the suffering on our people, right, and I start with a conversation, or I start with giving them you hungry? You want a pair of socks? And then I said, hey, have you gotten tested? You know, would you like to get tested so you can know your status? Listen, I'm HIV positive. I'm undetectable. And they asked me, and I explained to them what UU means to me, which is I don't live with the HIV no more. Now the HIV lives with me, right? Because I take care of the HIV. So when I go to the community, I give them supplies. I do what I can for them. I get them connected with the clinic, get them tested, take the medicine. But the issue of this taking medicine is that half of the people are homeless. They don't have nowhere to go. Where are they going to save their medicine? Where are they going to take this medicine? How are they going to take this medicine if they haven't take that minute to go and take their mental health, take care of their mental health, because they come together. Housing and mental health is very important, because I won't know what to do if I'm all discombobulated, right? I won't take my HIV meds to become undetectable, or whatever reason there is. So in order to do that, we have to stay vigilant and accept people where they're at, not judge them, and try to stop this stigma that we have with the HIV. Because at the end of the day, we humans, we're not animals.